Previously in X-Men, at 13, she risked her life to save the X-Men from the White Queen, joined the team and defeated a mansion-destroying demon, faced off against Garrock, Magneto, the Hellfire Club, Sentinels, Belasco, countless brood sleazoids, and Dracula twice. And now Professor Xavier has the nerve to suggest she might be demoted to the fledgling team of trainees, the New Mutants. What? I am Jason Lapidus.
Hey, I'm Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of Seven Comics. Welcome to episode 85 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic. As we read Uncanny X-Men 168 by storytellers Chris Claremont and Paul Smith and inker Bob Wiacek. Cover date of April 1983. And we are joined today by the creator of the unpredictable Olivia Sea, Nicholas Friesen. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Jason, Chris?
I'm doing good, man. As you already know. We're not going to pretend like we haven't been talking for the last few minutes. So you know I'm doing well. I have issues 4 and 5 now of your series.
Yes.
Not out yet?
So issue 4 will come out in July, and issue 5 will come out in September, October. Type of thing, and I do them that way because they're each accompanied by singles. It's a music comic, and so I'm releasing it quarterly alongside. Yes, you have the CD right there. So yeah, there's a new song with every issue that you can stream, and we also have cassette tapes. That's right, physical, baby. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it's a whole she's it starts out in the first 3 issues. She's a ballerina by day and a musician by night and a vigilante by later at night. And those are 3 black and white issues. And then it gets into some color stories, which you have there, Jason. So yeah, it's a fun series. And we met in Toronto and then hung out again in Montreal. And we did a bunch of shows this spring. So it feels good to now be just hanging out and talking comics in the comfort of our homes.
You did an amazing tour. Like you did a Canadian comic convention or comic festival tour that I think the rest of us only dream of. And can you just tell us all the places you stopped at on your way?
Yeah, so I'm from Winnipeg, and I started with a show in Winnipeg called the Winnipeg Punk Rock Flea Market, and then I went to TCAF in Toronto, and then VanCAF in Vancouver, and MCAF, Montreal, obviously, Montreal Comic Arts Festival, and then Panel 1 in Calgary. So a couple of very big shows, a couple of small shows, and it was amazing. You physically get the books into people's hands and hang out and meet other like-minded creators and cartoonists and writers and stuff, man. Like it was the best time I've had in a long time. So
that's awesome to hear that it was a positive experience for you, but I have to question one of your descriptors there. You said like-minded. So I've met a lot of comics people in the last, 5-6 years, and there aren't many that do what you do. Can you give us a sense of like your project and the various forms that the Olivia Sea character has taken so far?
Yeah, so I mean, Olivia Sea started out as just a character that I was drawing onto. Like, if a band asked me to draw a poster for their show, I would just draw Olivia on there, like very, red-haired, freckles, kind of generic like character. And then I was writing short stories about her, and then I had this band, my old band, Future Kids, and I wrote a song called Olivia Sea, and I put her on the album cover, and then the character just kind of started to go from there, and then. A buddy of mine, we were testing out some recording equipment, and we made a bunch of songs, and we didn't know what to do with them because we each had our own band at the time. And then one of us had the idea, like, what if these were Olivia Sea's songs? And so we found a singer. Also, her name is coincidentally Olivia Rain. Andy Cole does most of the instruments on the records, and Matt Powers is the drummer. And I do the recording and the songwriting, the lyrics, etc. So we formed this fake band basically, and I was making hand-drawn animated music videos for her. So there's one that is kind of like a Simpsons style called I Choo Choo Choose You. A lot of them are just Olivia getting into certain situations. Like one, I recreated the movie High Fidelity with Olivia's gay, so it was kind of like a nice fun gender swap. And it was, I don't know if it was before, it might have been before the High Fidelity Zoe Kravitz version that came out. So I feel maybe I was ahead of the curve on that one. But anyways, yeah. And so then I started kind of doing, I was like, oh, maybe I'll make it as like an animated series of shorts or a film or something. And then that just kind of morphed into doing it as a comic book series. So we have music, we have animation, we have comic books, and even
novelization. You also said at the beginning it was like
there's short stories, and I've also kind of built like, you know how certain writers kind of have their little universe where their characters intertwine a little bit. So, you know, she has a friend named Casey, and so there's a short story about Casey when she was younger, type of thing, and she has synesthesia and blah blah blah. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fun world to play around in, and I've literally spent like 10 years with this character, so maybe 11 years at this point. So yeah.
So Chris, can you see why I said there aren't not like-minded people? Like Nick, I think this is a unique universe you've created, and a very holistic one, really beautiful and admirable. And I don't know anyone else doing what you're doing. And like, I think you're living out a creator's fantasy for the last decade, like getting to try all these different things and, you know, experience what your character, how they translate from form to form and medium to medium. Like it's just remarkable. I'm should I say jealous? I mean,
well,
I think that
we're huge. We're big on inserting references to things,
yeah,
whether it's musical or historical or whatever it happens to be. And so, you know, Casey Accidental, right? That's the character's name, right?
Yes, yeah. They're all the women in this issue are named after songs.
Right.
So there's Shady Lane, there's Casey Accidental.
That's like, now I read the issues this weekend. I read what Casey had shared, and that was that. Yeah, now it's just playing on repeat.
So yeah, and then I also kind of started. Holy dooly, what an origin story! Yeah.
Hey Chuck, how you doing? Yeah, so, it's pretty remarkable. Sorry, Nick, you were going to say.
Oh no, thanks. Yeah, yeah, I just kind of started writing them into the songs as well with the last couple songs. So now it's like the characters are mentioned throughout the songs, and so some, like Olivia is named after a song, but it's a song I wrote. So we also like, and then there's a character of Lottie, and there's a song called Lottie in the Black and White Room. That is that, but otherwise, yeah, they're all like, what else is there? There's Blank Girl, which is a Dum Dum Girls song.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and then and Cecilia Ann is the guitarist, and that song is an instrumental, and so her character actually doesn't speak. So I was like,
solid. Our first 6 issues are named after songs from bands from the Halifax music scene, because in our book, spoiler alert, we blow up Halifax. And so because of that, it felt appropriate to name the issues.
So would you say it was a Halifax pop explosion?
Oh, yes.
That's good. Very good. I'm impressed.
Geeking it up in music all night. This would be good.
Oh yeah, man. I actually for about 5-6 years I had a 90s Canadian music website / radio show called Jaded and Elated, and tried to get everyone that I wanted to talk to and talk about these various album anniversaries, and be like, hey Joel Plaskett, did you realize this Thrush Hermit album was 25? And he'd be like, no, that's wild. And then we'd do an interview, and it was a good time.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of common ground. Yes, all the things. So just to get to a couple, did you get a chance to meet Dave Pretorius when you were at TCAF? He's here saying hello. What's up, Sleazoids?
Sleazoids.
Yeah, I know Dave. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you know Dave. I imagine you guys would get along as well.
Yeah, Jerome Cabinetta introduced us, and then we became buddies and hung out a few times in TCAF.
Yeah,
so
Dave is great. We got to watch a playoff game together.
Nice.
At the bar after TCAF, so that was a lot of fun to share some time with Dave there. And David Cutler is here. Hey, X-Heads, long time no tune in. I'm so behind. David, there is no pressure for you to catch up. You've read most of these, or if not all these before, and you are busy making X-Men comics. So, dude, you just in other Marvel projects, like you do you, and we're so happy you're here. Jason Lowe says,
I was gonna say also David, big music fan and East Coast music fan. So we brought up Plaskett once on an earlier video show, and he was like Plaskett. So there you go.
Yeah, I was on a short car ride with Jason Lowe and David Cutler after Toronto Comic Con in March, and we spent most of it just talking about 90s Canadian bands that we love.
That's cool.
Jason Lowe says, "To me, my ex-friends." How are you, Jason? Glad you could be with us on time. You're doing great today, so well done. And then, gentlemen, Trevor 16 Shooter is here. Trevor is an amazing toy photographer. You should check out his Instagram handle, 16 Shooter. His photography, beautiful stuff, and he's been a guest on the show as well. Nice. David says, "Yep. Plaskett is my religion. Sloan, Eric's trip, super friends."
Excellent.
You're speaking to me there, man.
Oh yeah. I always say that if I'm on my deathbed, just if one of the last voices I hear is the voice of Julie Doiron, then I'll go out of this world happy. So
nice.
Yeah, just big fan of all the Halifax guys. Yeah.
Me too. I'm trying to figure out what's the magic sauce there, because I've commented before, like if I could just listen to Nova Scotia and Ontario bands for the rest of my life, I'm probably going to be really, really happy. I love stuff coming out of Southern Ontario, and I love the bands from the East Coast. So I don't know what it is, but yeah, Joel Plaskett is to me national
he's
treasure.
The man. Yeah, I've interviewed him a few times, and he's once in person and once over the phone, and he's just like a genuinely nice dude. So it's very nice that when you're a fan of someone for a long time, and they actually take the time to sit down with you and have a real conversation. It's very cool, and he's just
for sure.
Dude, so yeah.
David says Montreal's no slouch. Of course, I'm not trying to say that anyone else is not, or anywhere else not good. I was just thinking of just what I need. I need. There's certain moments when I'm listening to a Hayden song where the melancholy is just so rich that I'm in a warm womb of almost sadness. That I couldn't live without the Ontario stuff just because of bands records like his.
Question is, how do we do the combo? We talked about this, Jason. The combo tour comic show, get some music, get the comics going, all of it together.
Well, we started this. We've been thinking about having an art show in a hall with bands. So there's comic book vendors and comic book artists there, and maybe a couple food vendors or microbrewers and live bands, and how to make that work, and then maybe take that on the road. So it's each city, you get the people from that city. My Siri just likes to go off.
Siri's like, do you want to listen to Hayden right now? You're like, well, kinda, but I'm in the middle.
Can you guys hear when I don't want to say her name. The word city just provoked her. Anyway, the idea of going on, a tour of that, I think would be maybe the most fulfilling experience of bringing all the things together, music and comics. And we also, Chris and I are working on a concept record of songs about comics that are all just covers of songs or parodies of songs by The Who. And they're only about comics. And there's a list of about 10 songs, would you say, Chris?
Yeah.
It got pretty crazy. Yeah. It was a lot of fun to do, just to make those up. So
instead of who are you, it's what grade are you?
Oh, do I have to get my list?
Yeah. It's exactly.
I'll pull this list out. It's pretty silly, and I might end up having to sing.
I think it
some
was
songs.
short box instead of squeeze box.
Nice.
Yeah,
Dad has got a short box.
yeah, it was pretty silly stuff. But that's the fun of it, right? Is you have all these really silly songs. Oh, I don't want to waste time on this. I don't know where it is. I have to. We'll get there. We'll get there. There's too many comments here. I'll keep going. David says, I discovered Hayden doing a listen through of every song to ever hit the Much Music Top 30. Wow. That is a commitment to some Canadian TV there. Only made it to 98. Okay, good.
I mean, anything after 1998, nah, forget about it. No, I mean, like that's when the inbreds broke up. So who cares about anything after 1998, right?
Good call. Wow.
And that first Mike
Hayden
O'Neill
went to my high school. Hayden went to my high school, so it was like when he broke, it was sort of like mandatory Thornhill listening. It was like, and he was being billed as like the next generation's Neil Young. So we all felt like an obligation to kind of give it a good listen. And man, I was hooked pretty early, but I love him way more now than I did when I was 17 or so. Trevor says, do a comic about the history of Canadian rock. Yeah, that might actually just happen. That might be a thing. Eli, how you doing, man? Hope you're well. I was watching some of your videos online recently too, and I caught you getting talked about on the Comic Tropes live stream on Monday night. So good score there, buddy. That was awesome. Hope you're well, Eli. Miss you. David says Long Box Wizards was my addition live on the show. There you go. Oh, that's awesome. Long Box Wizards is really good. I would love to hear you sing that one. Daddy's got a short box and Mama doesn't sleep at night. I mean, that was so I have the list. I found it. So short box. Yes, that one. It's exactly what I had too. When I did the original pitches to Chris, I did them as if they already existed. And I was like, Chris, haven't you heard about that song? Omnibus. It's all about like the struggles of having all those really how you manage Omnibus. And then there's a song called Behind Blue Line. No one knows what it's like to draw a bad man. To draw a sad man without blue line. Yeah, so that was good.
That was a good one.
There's one song called Back Issues.
Yep.
It's Back Issues and then in brackets of Who's Who. Who's Who. Back Issues of Who's Who. Right? You know that one? Do you know the song? It's a deep cut though. It's called Variant Front. Do you know that one? You don't know Variant Front? I can't sing it though. So it's the Who's called Imminent Front, but this one it's about Variant Front covers, all the variants. No, you don't know about Variant Front? Okay. My favorite one is all about like when you're reading a book and like the page turn is wrong. It's called Talking About the Pagination.
You know what? That's actually where my mind went with my generation as well. Was about page pagination. So
there's another one called Trades Are for Keeping. That do you know that one?
No.
Well, you know how some people like you can't always collect single issues. So you have to keep your trades. Like that might be the best way to store your comics. It's maybe it's to the tune of Love Ain't for Keeping off the amazing Who's Next. Like maybe for me my favorite Who song. But those are the ones we've got so far, and I think we got some more. Hold on in the chat.
Yeah.
David adds Long Box Wizards. They're rolled up at the ends. Long Box Wizards. I share them with my friends.
See, I was going to go with Uniball Wizard instead of Pinball Wizard.
Oh, nice.
Someone that can, sketch with a Uniball pen, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Well, Jim Rugg, famous.
Jim Rugg, yeah.
Right? Talking about Generation X. There you go.
Nice.
That's a good one too.
It's
That's
topical.
good. Eminence Front. You got it. That's the one. Oh, Eli likes. I think he likes.
Trevor's
the one better. Yeah. Should I invest in Valiant? I don't know. Jim Shooter says I should. Hold on. Oh, I get it. Sorry. I don't want to have to sing it, but I get the rhythm of that is, yeah. I don't know. That's good. I like that. There's so much good stuff here. Eli likes the pagination one. So there is a whole cover album to be made for sure. Just songs about comics, just by the Who. Like I like that it's.
We didn't even branch out.
No other band. Maybe the High Numbers, but no. Other than that, no one else. So that it's a good one to do. And there are, yeah, maybe we can get a good title going too. Instead of like the Maximum R&B box set, maybe there's like Maximum CMYK or something. I don't know. Anyway. Oh, don't. No, we're not doing the Eagles, Trevor. Thank you very much. No Eagles. No
That's the
Eagles.
second time you brought that up, Trevor.
This is a live stream crossover joke. So for whatever reason, on another live stream from another channel called Toying Around, which is an action figure based live stream with everyone's good friend Kevin Wong, Toying Around, who I believe is at the Jays game tonight, and he invited me, and I said no for you two losers. That being said, he just said, Kevin says he ate 3 hot dogs at the Jays game. That's where he is. So, okay. But on Kevin's live stream, it came out that I've been in a band and that we play cover songs and that I don't want to play the Eagles. So they just keep bringing up that Eagles. Welcome to the Marvel House of Ideas, Sister Christian.
Wow.
What? Deep cut. Yeah. Well done. So, X-Men. 25 or 22 minutes in. Rich Danny's, how you doing, man? Nice to see you here. Hold out for a better Jays game than the Giants. Why? Is it not a good game or are they not a good team? I haven't been keeping up. Sister Christian was an accidental paste. Nice. Yes, exactly. I hate the fucking Eagles, right? Or fucking hate the Eagles. That's the idea. Eli says,
who said that? The dude?
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of when I realized I didn't like the Eagles. I was watching that movie like everyone else. I was like, you know what? I kind of hate them too.
I don't know. I like the Eagles. I mean, I know that they're kind of bad, but I like the Eagles. I grew up on all the oldies and the classic rock with my dad, listening on cassette. And I mean, take it to the limit. You tell me there's a better song with harmonies in it. Come on, like there's like 5 or 6 harmonies going on there.
It's phenomenal. My band has played a couple Eagles songs in recent months, and yeah, it's fun to do. Fun to do for sure. Life in the Blue Line. Oh, man. Don't start with the Eagles songs, please, Trevor. So, can you tell me, Nick, like, what's your intro to X-Men? Where did you get onto that?
Oh boy. I mean, probably the animated series, the action figures, stuff like that. And then as you can see behind me, action figure palooza in this room. But I would go through, the garage sale bins and stuff like that. And that's where I started picking up comic books. And hey, look at that. There's one of our Olivia Sea albums that was before I came up with the comic book idea, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was just like, yeah, what if the cover of the album was a comic book cover? So it kind of predated it, but
that's awesome. So I didn't mean to cut you off though. I just wanted to add that to the.
Mm-hmm. And I remember picking up it's like a little like paperback size book of like the first 6 issues of Spider-Man, and it had been like drawn all over and stuff. So I think that was like maybe the first comic book I had, or like Star Wars comics and stuff. But then I started picking up X-Men and New Mutants and stuff like that. And X-Force was because I was born a month before tonight's issue came out. I was born in March of '83. So this is interesting timing. And then also very interesting coincidence that the Olivia Sea album cover mimics the cover art of the issue that we're doing tonight. That was a weird timeout coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. It's intentional. No. Once I saw that you had that, we moved things around.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that it would work, because it was like, how could you pass up the opportunity to talk about it? But it's not coincidence.
But yeah, X-Men wise, like it was early 90s, so I was very much into Wolverine and Gambit and Jubilee and Kitty Pryde. Kitty's, Shadowcat's always been one of my favorite characters, actually. So also glad that we're doing a kitty focused issue tonight, and I have some questions as we read through this, as I'm sure we all will. So some thoughts and ideas.
Oh yeah, you don't think that Claremont covers all the bases? And
I just
you know?
I just have some questions of at least one or two scenes. So
that sounds perfect. Well, we regularly do not know what on earth is going on, and that's been one of the really fun things. It's like a cartooning lesson in storytelling. Is like when you see maybe the penciler goes a little off the rails, and Claremont has to try and patch it together with the script, Marvel method, like after the fact, or other times where things sync up just beautifully and the issue really flows. And so we've gotten a chance to see both, and obviously read both runs that Cockrum did right through the John Byrne stuff, and there hasn't been a third voice on X-Men with any regularity. There's been fill-in artists and such, but Paul Smith has now been on for a couple issues, and I'm interested to see if this issue is like in the groove, or does it feel like he doesn't fit in the book, or who knows what. So we'll see it. I already know, of course, but we'll see as we go, like what we collectively think, what our takeaway is from this issue. And maybe at the end of this conversation we'll have a little debate about the recent Stan Lee doc on Disney Plus and the response from the Kirby family. Maybe we have a hot take here or there, so we'll see if that can come up. I know I definitely have an opinion, but we'll see if I can get something out of the two of you. So, Chris, should we start this one? You ready to go?
I think we're ready to go, yeah.
All right, I'm going to add to the stream the scans of the original issue, thanks to the technology of the DVD-ROM, which is unbelievable. This is all the issues of X-Men from 1963 through 2004, I think. 2005. Oof, I'm off. I, of course, am reading it, thankfully, in my original copy here, or if I need to, for the super clear line art, I've got the beautiful essentials here, which I have to say are essential for an issue like this. The line art in this issue is amazing. Yeah. And I can't say enough good things about it. And if you have a chance to read it through the essentials, the Paul Smith stuff shines in this format. So there you go. All right, I'm going to full screen this bad boy.
Nick, how are you reading this tonight, by the way?
I found it on comiconlinefree.net.
Comiconlinefree.net.
Yeah, I'm a physical collector of books. I don't have this one physically, but so I don't have like a subscription to Marvel Online or Unlimited or whatever it's called. But so I don't endorse in stealing comics. But for the purposes of this here tonight, I am going to just flip through online.
Yeah, fair point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris.
You want to jump in? Or you want to talk about the cover?
Dude. Oh, sure. Cover's amazing.
Cover is amazing. So amazing that Nick recreated it.
Yeah.
Nick isn't the only one. I mean, there are cosplayers who take this pose and recreate this one photograph. Absolutely. This it's a standout cover amongst, like, I would put this one up against all X-Men covers of all time as one in contention for most iconic. I don't think it is. I think you're going to come up against, Days of Future Past Part 1. But this issue, just like it's in the conversation for what a good Marvel comic book for this time period could look like,
Mm-hmm.
Rich Danny says Paul Smith was what brought me to X-Men. I love his stuff. Yeah, he's one of my earliest X-Men artists that I loved as well. Jason Lowe says, agreed. Let's just say he's agreeing with everything we say about everything. A very iconic cover. I also really love that her collar is sort of, looks like it could be open.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really nice blend of, in my imagination, of like as to what her costume will be down the road. Where she wears like the blue Shadow Cat costume, it has the flared out collar, and this actually would really suit her. If this was like a modification to her New Mutants era costume, like that open neck with a bit of a collar flare, I think it would be a great look on her. And she doesn't need a mask, does she?
She doesn't.
No, they start her off with that, full head thing that like Jean Grey wore originally too, and Beast.
Oh yeah, like her
but
Sprite costume.
That's
yeah,
right.
but this looks really good unmasked. I think it's a really good look for her. David Cutler says it's a top tenor. I would agree for sure.
Tell you what.
We can't see your beautiful faces now, Eli says. Well, Eli is just in love with our faces. And Eli, you can go back and take a screen cap of our beautiful faces and hold that while we go live.
Please do. Make sure we all have great expressions on our face.
Eli, as much as I love seeing you too, we're here really to see the artwork. So at full size, some of you might be watching on a small screen, so we don't want to diminish the artwork or the comic book for the sake of just so you can see our beautiful faces, which is significant, I realize. All right.
Here we go.
Everything good about that cover. The color choices, everything. I'm just great.
Absolutely.
All right, Sandman, you're up.
You want me to go? Okay.
Go.
Here we go. Professor Xavier is a jerk.
Also, just, the reference here, if any of you have ever read Joss Whedon and David Cassidy's Astonishing X-Men, this is like one of the early kind of ghost images. Like Kitty is remembering key things as she walks through the house. And obviously this moment played a pivotal role in how Joss Whedon envisioned Kitty. So John Cassidy got to recreate.
David Cassidy.
John Cassidy got to recreate this image. It was a really neat idea, and I think I might have even had seen it there first before seeing it in this form. Chuck says, "What an all-time splash page!" Like, think about this for a second. I'm agreeing with you, Chuck. I think a lot of people will agree with you. We're talking about a character in a non-superhero situation wearing a winter coat, calling someone a name and pointing a finger, and we're like, this is the best splash page ever. But the thing is, it really has a lot of emotion to it. And Chris, you and I were talking about last issue, or 2 issues ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, last issue, how the scope has gone from like saving the planet. Now it's down to I'm not in the team I want to be on. It's become from a massive team thing or a massive cosmic thing to a little emotional ego moment. And it works.
Well, it grounds the characters, right? I mean, like, you get kind of lost in the fantastical stuff. And so now we're at school, we're in the middle of a conversation and she's getting fired up. And that's how we start our story. It's awesome.
It is. It really is.
That could be one of the reasons. I mean, there's many, I think we could probably make arguments for it, but one of the reasons why the X-Men as a team-based book has resonated so much because of the grounded interdynamics between the characters, as opposed to maybe the Avengers or the Fantastic Four. I don't even know, but it just means like they had, like, you're right. We went from cosmic threat with the Brood, right, to an inter-team squabble.
Yeah, I also love the idea that someone has like got a custom of this jacket and walked around a con dressed like that, right? Opening spread is more notable than the cover, almost, for sure. Jason says that look has been cosplayed nicely. Jason, you've seen someone dressed like this? I'm not surprised that you've seen it. That is fantastic. That'd be, one of my favorite characters to see someone cosplay would be Kitty Pryde, for sure. Totally. Both times I was asked to draw Kitty at a con, I put her in this jacket.
Nice, David.
That's awesome. Awesome. That is the glory of X-Men, exactly what Chris said. There you go. Well done, Chris.
Well, hey, it's only page 1. I can ruin it still. He's the cruelest, meanest, most heartless man on earth.
Nick, do you want to read Ileana?
He's doing what he thinks is best, Kitty.
It isn't fair, Ileana. I've earned my place among the X-Men. All of them say so. Why won't the professor listen? Why is he treating me like a child?
Because you're acting like one?
Some friend you are.
I am your friend, dummy. That is why I can talk to you like this. You've been ranting nonstop, making everyone's life miserable ever since you were shifted from the X-Men to the trainee team. The New Mutants, plug the title there. It's getting boring. And don't tell me what is or isn't fair. You didn't spend half your life in a demonic limbo.
Oh, Ileana, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you.
You know hurts me. I'm Russian. What's done is done, Kitty. Wishing or griping won't change a thing. But if we don't hurry, we'll miss the bus into Salem Center, which means we'll miss dance class. And if that happens, you'll really have cause to be miserable. Oh, now I'm going to narrate with a Norm Macdonald impression. Okay.
Here we go.
Hey, the girls race down the drive towards the gray Malkin Lane, unaware that they're being watched by alien eyes. He hasn't been here long. He hates the weather, and the hunting has been poor. That, he decides, is hey, it's about to change.
Before we go further, kudos for that. That was beautiful. I'm looking at those drawings of the kids in the previous page, and it's really simple stuff, deceptively simple maybe, but like look at Ileana's face in that profile, like the fineness of the line of the outline of her face. Like we wouldn't see that from either, Terry Austin inking over John Byrne or Wiacek or anyone else inking over, like Rubenstein inking over Cockrum. They would chunk up that brush on the outline of the face. Like this is such a delicate face. And, when it comes to these inking techniques, we're not going to see a lot of cross-hatching or an overuse of black on pages. Like these are much lighter works, like line choices and shadow choices from Paul Smith and team. And it's interesting to see how the brand can shift and how quickly this feels like X-Men, but it is a very different X-Men. And I'm in awe.
Mm-hmm. It's also such a great Byrne line. I'm not like a Byrne when she says you didn't spend half your life in demonic limbo.
Yeah.
I love that line. It's so
that's
great.
Also Claremont reminding us, the reader,
yes,
of her backstory and why she's so much older, and that she's had her tortured past. She's got her pathos and everything. Yeah, that's crazy. Jason, I missed all this. So Jason says cosplayed with that word balloon, meaning Professor Xavier is a jerk. So someone walked around with that word balloon, which is awesome.
That's incredible.
Thing. Yes. Chuck says the shift between cosmic adventure and kitchen table drama is one of the things I love most about X-Men, and the movies never really hit either. And I hear you, and I think that is definitely one of the keys to the success and relatability of X-Men, as well as like the fantastical. Like mixing those two worlds together is great. And there you go, you're getting some props on your Norm Macdonald there. Well, the light was on. I don't get it.
The moth joke.
Oh, right. Which once again proved my theory. Kitty loves David Hasselhoff. What does that mean?
I don't know.
What is that? Eli, you got to explain. Trevor says, note the demonic limbo thing again. Yeah, what a martyr. Oh, not. Sorry, I said no, not. It's not. Another props for you for your reading by Norm. Paul Smith doesn't spot blacks, and it's all line because he began animation. You know what? I think that's pretty insightful. There are much less spotted blacks, and like I was saying before, like the Japanese animation vibe in a lot of his stuff really shows up, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Sorry, Paul Smith animated on Bakshi's Lord of the Rings in '78. Thank you for that insight. I looked for videos about, and some backstory on Paul Smith, and there isn't a lot out there. Like he's not one of those creators that people talk about all that much, but his stuff is fantastic. Oh, it's a Norm Weekend Update joke. Thank you, Eli. Yeah, man. They'll go over my head because I'm in an X-Men space at the moment, but I have watched more than my fair share of Norm online, but I'm not going to get it all. That's for sure. Okay, so did you want to do Wolverine as well, Nick? You said?
Yeah, sure. It's a short scene. So
most of my life, I've been a loner elf by choice. Sometimes a body needs solitude. This is one of them.
Where are you going, my friend?
North and west to home ground, the Canadian Rockies. I should be back in a couple of weeks. Try not to need me till then.
After what we've been through, Wolverine, a vacation will do us all some good. There's Kitty and Ileana. Do you mind if we give them a lift to town as I drive you to the airport?
Nope.
I wish I knew some way to cheer Kitty up. She's been in such a foul mood lately.
With good reason, pal. Charlie gave her a raw deal.
Do you really think so, Wolverine? Isn't she a little young to be a superhero? Ours is a highly dangerous profession.
So's war. Not long ago, boys of 12 went to sea as naval midshipmen, expected to conduct themselves as officers and adults. And what's with the change of heart, Nightcrawler? You argued just as vehemently. See, this is where Claremont, like, he's writing Claremont. He's not writing Wolverine right now.
Right.
Yeah.
You argued just as vehemently as the rest of us when Charlie made his decision.
I like to understand both sides of the question. Many of those midshipmen were wounded, maimed, killed. Do we want such a fate for Kitty? Have we the right to place her, a child, at risk?
We're at risk from the moment of conception, pal. There are no guarantees for anyone, anywhere. She could be killed or injured just as easily as living a normal life.
There's been no opportunity to properly determine the extent and capability of her powers without knowing what she can or cannot do. She could be as great a liability to the X-Men as an asset, nicht wahr?
I can't deny that.
So perhaps her professor's deal wasn't quite so far after all.
A decision can be logical and sensible and still wrong. Since the kid joined, she's functioned as a full-fledged X-Man. She's faced death and worse, and never let us down. She's proved her worth. Time. That cancels every other argument.
To
me, that cancels every other argument. Sorry.
To me, also unfortunately, we aren't the ones who need convincing.
I love that Wolverine is putting on like his outfit that we saw him wear in the Wolverine limited series. Like he's, you know, and this is just good cartooning to me. Like he's going from a state of, you know, indoor clothes to putting on his outdoor stuff. And like we kind of go with him on that. And as Nightcrawler puts on his coat too, just give us a little bit of action, even though it's simply a Talking Heads page. And then nice panel shift, like colors in the background. And then the open panel. I love how Paul Smith stays on model with his characters too. Like his Wolverine always looks like his Wolverine. That might speak to his animation background too, that Rich is talking about, saying he worked with Dan Stevens at Hanna-Barbera in the early 80s. That's awesome. So Dan Stevens of the Rocketeer, correct?
Dave Stevens.
Sorry, Dave Stevens. Dan Stevens is the actor who plays Matthew on Downton Abbey and plays Legion on Legion. Yes. And the Beast and Beauty and the Beast live action. I think I'm just...
Yeah, no, you're a big Dan Stevens fan. We all know.
I'm not a big Dan Stevens fan. Just know who he is. Eli says he's going to tap the Rockies. There you go, Eli. Yes, Dave Stevens. Yes, from the Rocketeer. Very cool. All right.
10 meters below the venerable mansion that houses Professor Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters lies the Danger Room. That's dangerous. Where his students hone their various abilities as individuals and as part of the team of superheroes he founded, the X-Men. They, like Xavier himself, are mutants. Gifted at birth with extraordinary powers.
Are you ready, Charles?
The room is set this morning to its basic gymnasium mode, for Xavier is here not to exercise his psi talent, but his body. Monitoring his progress from the observation booth is the woman he loves, Lilandra, expatriate empress of the Shi'ar.
Just for some background for anyone who has not been reading all the issues preceding this one, Professor X had a brood queen egg embryo, whatever, inside of him, and he was he turned into a brood, and they're like, we're gonna kill him. So in about 2 panels, they cloned him and put his brain in the new clone body. So this is a new body for Professor Xavier. And although he has the ability to walk, there is like a mental block for him. So we're going to be seeing over the next little while Xavier make moves towards building his body strength and the connection with his mind back up. So that's why has the ability to walk again. It's a brand new body, and it happened really, really quickly, like a microwave dinner.
It was a cage.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Charlie's not going to make it. He sure will. We put him this brand new body we just gave him. Wait, what?
Ready as I'll ever be. I'm up, Lil. So far, so good.
The biotelemetry belies his jaunty tone. He's under a terrible strain, and it's getting worse. This shouldn't be happening. To save Charles's life, a new body was cloned for him and his mind transplanted. This one is a perfect physical specimen, where the original was crippled, its legs irreparably shattered. He should be able to walk with ease. Yet, he cannot.
One step at a time. That's the ticket. Never dreamt it could be so hard. Focus, concentration. The pain is not real. It must be denied. Nothing is wrong with me. It's all in my mind.
Charles! Beloved, are you all right?
I couldn't stay on my feet, Lilandra.
Lie still. Don't try to move.
I did my best. Fought with all my strength, and still I failed.
There's no shame in that. The readings were off their scales. The agony you endured must have been indescribable.
How's this for irony, eh? My mind can do so much, yet it cannot cope with the phantom psychosomatic pain. It expects agony whenever I stand, because that has been reality ever since my legs were crushed. And now, even though I am physically cured, it responds as if I was still crippled.
You will recover, my love, in time.
I wonder. I can cope, but only by focusing all my will, my resources, to the extent that I cannot then draw on any of my sonic powers. And the experience, even as short a one as this, is so debilitating that I'm virtually helpless for some time afterward. My choice, evidently, is my walking versus my usefulness to the X-Men.
And you will sacrifice personal desire for duty?
It looks now like she's put her thumb in his mouth, by the way.
I was going to bring
So I'm going to read this with a thumb in my mouth.
Put the thumb in your mouth. Yeah, thanks.
I suppose. I suppose why. You look troubled, Lil. What is it?
You are eating my thumb. That's why I look troubled. When the Star Jammers leave Earth, I'm going with them. My sister, Deathbird, is mad, Charles. I cannot abandon my empire to her. I must try to regain my throne.
Stay, Lilandra. Please. I need you.
Come with me.
I did so once before, remember? And that decision cost Jean Grey her life.
Do you blame me for that?
No. The fault was mine. Her fate was sealed, I fear, the day we met. But there are more mutants appearing every day, and I seem to be the only person prepared and equipped to help them. How can I abandon my trust? How could I live with myself if I did?
Would you have me be less honorable than you? We both have commitments we cannot deny. But someday, Charles, all will be well once more. All that is wrong put right, and the happiness we yearn for will last, be ours.
He still hasn't fed. He's beginning to get irritated.
I just one quick note. We also on the show love to talk about the things that make it out of these comics into the other media.
Yes.
And so whether it makes it to the animated series, in this case, there's that part in the film Days of Future Past where when Wolverine gets to the past, Charles Xavier has lost the ability. He has to choose between walking or telepathy. And I always thought that was a really weird, like, shoehorn thing into the movie. But it's here. It's in this. He has to choose if he's going to walk, he has to use his concentration for that. And so I wonder if they were trying to pull a little bit of this, or were inspired by a little bit of this.
That's fine. My mind went there too to that scene. Is it he's doped up, right? And it like dulls his mind,
right?
But
in
allows
the movie, it's an addiction issue.
It's addiction.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like
right.
Right, he's trying to cover the pain of losing the students with this drug. Eli, thank you for the compliments about the impressions. We're gonna focus on Nick, who's doing such a great job as a narrator today. Chuck says, "I have said this before, and I'll say it again. Nobody poses his characters like Paul Smith. These 2 pages are genius."
Mm-hmm.
You think about again how boring this can be in the hands of a lesser cartoonist, but Paul Smith is a great actor. And he's able to communicate so much with these characters,
There's movement on this page. It's crazy.
Yeah, really special stuff.
Yeah.
Trevor says, "Who names one kid Lalandra? Another Deathbird." Every father loves one kid more than another.
Looks like it's Lalandra's time to sit up front with Dad on the drive to McDonald's.
Right.
It's always Lalandra. Shut up, Deathbird.
Speaking of movement on a page, you want to see here when you're ready to flip, like just the love that gets put into this.
There you go. Yeah.
It looks like he's watched someone dance, like he's actually picked something out. It's a great choice.
Stevie Hunter's Dance Studio, 75 Willingdon Road, Salem Center, New York.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Kitty! It would help if you stayed on the beat. That's what it's there for. You've done this piece before, Kitty. It isn't that difficult, but you botched it every time today. What's ailing you, girl?
Take a guess.
I'm trying, Stevie, okay?
Yeah, trying too bloody hard. Dance is hard work, but it's also supposed to be fun. Relax, kitten. Flow with the music and the movement. Don't fight them.
I'm in a fighting mood.
Want to head over to the high school, put on some gloves, and spar a few rounds?
Darn. Why am I yelling at you? Is it you I'm mad at?
Being an X-Men, is that important to you?
It's what I am, Stevie. It's where I belong. We're a family, don't you see? The X-Men are as close to me as my own parents. In some ways, closer. By shifting me to the New Mutants, the professor's saying that isn't so. It's tearing me up inside, Stevie. I don't know anymore what to do.
Resolve it, kiddo, one way or the other. At the moment, you're no good to yourself or anyone else.
Great. How?
Charles isn't an unreasonable man. If you present a strong enough case, he's sure to change his mind.
I also have a cane that might come in handy in that conversation. Sorry. Don't bet on it.
You want to feel sorry for yourself, Pride? Then do it somewhere else. I got no time for this. Life is lousy. No argument there. What matters is how you cope with it. Take your anger and do something constructive with it. Fight for what you believe in. Prove your case, Kitty.
You think I have a chance?
What have you got to lose?
Incredible. I've been telling her this for a week now. Why didn't you listen to me?
Okay, you guys. I'll give it my best shot. If you think I've given up, Professor, if you think I'm beaten, you're in for a surprise.
I also really love that Paul Smith has decided exactly what Kitty's hair is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it curly? Is it layered? Is it no? It's just wavy hair.
Wavy,
like he's got it figured out, and every highlight he has, like it's a very clear read. And yeah, I'm
Well,
I was impressed by him.
that's something that we think the book has struggled with since her introduction is how old is Kitty? How old do we play Kitty? How old, right? So, and just wildly inconsistent from the Cockrum to right. And it feels like Smith here has, really the last few issues, like, oh, so this is Kitty.
Yeah, and I think it really solidifies her. Like Cockrum was all over the map with her. Bob McLeod was a little bit wonky with her. I mean, Byrne even sometimes he had a really small, but her features, I thought he was. And
we know consistent. How good Byrne is with smaller children, right?
Well, that's another thing altogether. Chuck asks, how long has Kitty been with them in universe time? I think we can pretty safely say just over a year. And the reason I say that is this is a Christmas issue. And we know that sort of first issue where she's alone in the mansion is a Christmas issue as well. Right? Where she goes after Peter with the mistletoe. And then everyone like leaves, go somewhere else, and she's left alone in the mansion for a bit. So she joins in the comic in 138 in the last panel. She like shows up at the last page. She shows up at the mansion as everyone's like at the funeral, I think for Jean Grey or something like that. And then spends a couple issues kind of training with the team.
Yeah.
And then by Christmas, she's like in uniform doing her thing and on adventures with them. So a little over a year. Is that fair? Do you guys agree with me?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Chuck says, Kitty wrecks the mansion. It's a Christmas tradition like no other. Yes. But how many Christmases have the Simpsons had? Good point, David. You make a good point.
I also enjoy that Stevie Hunter also is in the New Mutants books and is like kind of a bigger character in that, but it's also like really? Stevie, we're gonna give you your big chance in the spinoff, and you're still just going to be a dance instructor. like she kind of like goes to the mall with them. She's kind of their chaperone sometimes in the early New Mutants books. But yeah, it's just kind of funny how it's like how we're like, okay, we're having this spinoff and we're gonna bring in the big names. Oh, is like Wolverine gonna be? No, Stevie.
and her magnificent cane.
Yes, exactly.
Do you think that Claremont was kicking the can down the road to maybe bring her on board in a more prominent way? Do they ever power her up?
Not to my recollection, but I feel like she's like damsel in distress when they need one type of thing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and this is going outside of my comfort zone here with X-Men comics because it's at the end of the Chris Claremont run. But when at the very end, so I think even Jim Lee might have left the main title and it's on to one of the Kubert brothers. Isn't when Colossus returns and he's coming to kill somebody because he's being possessed by the Shadow King? Isn't one of the first people he comes across Stevie Hunter? Like, is she still around for all that? Like, she stays in the periphery of the team for 150 issues, I think. But I don't know what happens to her after that. So feel free to, someone can tell me. Yes, Eli, a nice Jewish girl on Christmas. Well, that's what happens. I think for a lot of the characters, though, even whether she's Jewish or not, they still participate in Christmas in some capacity, right, Eli? Yeah, doesn't seem to be very she's not an observant Jewish girl in the book at all. I think she's a pretty secular character. Anyway, moving on. All right.
The mansion. The following morning, a pre-dawn hush envelops the estate as Aurora climbs the ridge that marks its eastern boundary. The air is bitter cold. Her only protection, a white fur cloak, but she doesn't seem to mind.
Yeah.
Her mutant gift is the ability to control the weather. None of its manifestations can directly harm her.
I have been away from Earth too long. It is good to be home.
She has traveled far, endured much these past months, but all that she puts behind her as she faces the sunrise and opens herself to its radiance, restoring and replenishing her physical and psychic links with her mother world. It is a moment of transcendent beauty. But
so This is a total trope in X-Men comics, right? To get her naked.
Yes.
And I'm not impressed with it ever. But yeah, just
Do you think that,
pointing it
like,
out.
do
She's
you think
naked
that,
again.
you know, because of the tropiness of it, and you know, when it got to Paul Smith, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's like, yeah, no problem. But do you ever think there's a conversation where he's like, hey, Chris, I don't know, maybe this time she shouldn't have to get naked? He's like, no, she always has to get naked.
Yeah, he wears his kinks on his sleeve for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Back to what we're saying about Stevie.
Oh.
David says, and David, you are an incredible encyclopedia, by the way. Claremont never stops using her. She sticks around a bit afterward, but like most of Claremont's non-mutant characters, she quickly heads into limbo. Not a literal limbo. You know what I mean?
Better question. Is she in the current incarnation? Does she show up on Krakoa? I don't know.
Right.
I know she's not a mutant, but still. Anyone know
The
that
island
one?
of misfit Claremont creations. Yeah. Needs a yellow highlight on the foreground butt cheek. You're right.
And also, is
Absolutely.
she? Oh no! It looked like she was wearing like high-heeled boots in the wide shot there, but I guess that's just like her arching her foot.
Yes.
The shadow was kind of confusing.
Yeah. That's funny. Good point there, Rich. That's a good one. I love how she also has her headdress on still for some reason.
Yeah.
It's part of her ceremony.
I guess. Okay, sorry. Let's continue here.
But the perfection is fleeting as clouds appear from nowhere to occlude the sun and shatter Aurora's serenity.
I didn't summon this storm. What is happening? A wind. I can't resist it. Blowing me off the ridge. My teeth chattering. I'm cold. But my body is immune to temperature variations. It's over. Wind, lightning, everything, as suddenly as it began. I attempted a communion with the primal elemental forces of the earth, those which sustain my power and, more importantly, my soul. And they have denied me? Why? What does it mean?
Even as she voices her anguished cry, she suspects the answer, and that realization chills her heart far more than the air does her bones. So you see now the days pass, and Kitty Pryde, is true to her word. At every opportunity, she corners Xavier, trying every which way she knows to persuade him to change his mind. Unfortunately, logic proves no more effective.
I can
This is
go
my
places.
favorite page, by the way. In the book.
I can go places Nightcrawler can't. No prison can hold me, and darn few weapons can hurt me. I'm smart. Oh, checkmate, Professor.
Then passion.
I saved the X-Men's lives, Professor, more than once. They need me, and you know it. Only you're too pig-headed and stubborn to admit it.
Or cooperation.
Where'd you want this stuff, Professor? You were right. I can phase objects along with me. The more I practice and hone my concentration, the greater the mass I can affect.
Or flattery.
Gosh, Professor, I don't know what I'd do without you. I tell everyone that my professor's the handsomest, nicest, most wonderful man.
And he's totally eating it up, eh? But he's still like, he's like, no. You're a teenage girl. You're a new mutant. That's fine. Yeah.
Oh, checkmate, Professor. I love it.
Yeah.
Just
it's a great page.
And those, go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna, for quick 80s reference, I think that the panel of her carrying the object through that wall was part of her Marvel Universe official handbook profile. Like that was one of the ones that demonstrated her powers. I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I was gonna say this panel page breakdown with the white negative space. Reminds me of the Wolverine limited series with
big time
because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it really works though, right?
It does, absolutely.
Yeah, we don't see this from Cockrum or BYRNE, but it works really good.
You get a range of emotions from Kitty too. It's great.
David says, referring to Stevie Hunter again, she appears once in a blue moon. Jason Lowe might know better. I think she's still a politician. And Storm feels naked without her headdress, so she wouldn't want to take that off. Good point. Jason says, yeah, I was going to bring up about her being a politician. She's the new mayor of Toronto, I hear. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And yet Rich points out that we don't see the word occlude very often.
Nope.
Never expected to hear Norm narrating X-Men. Fabulous. Jason wants Kitty to take it down a notch. Fair enough. And wow, her hands are tiny in that last panel.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, they are, right?
Very tiny hands.
It makes Xavier's head look like Mount Rushmore big. Like. Meanwhile, in a somewhat warmer and more hospitable clime, Scotty Summers, that's Cyclops to those who know, retraces familiar steps along the commercial waterfront of Shark Bay, Florida. That sounds real. Until he reaches the trawler Arcadia, skippered by a young woman named Lapidus Forrester.
Dad had business to take care of before we head off to Alaska to see his folks, my grandparents. We used to visit them when I was a kid, he said. I barely remember anything before the orphanage. I can't picture their faces or moms. Anyway, since I had some time to myself, I figured I'd look up a friend. Now that I'm actually here, though, I'm not so sure this is a good idea. I've been away for months. Lee may not want to see me.
How's it coming, boss?
Marvelous, Paolo. I just love stripping down a temperamental diesel. Oh, that's the girl. Sorry. Marvelous, Paolo. I just love stripping down a temperamental diesel.
Just so's you're enjoying yourself.
My wrench, please.
Here you go, boss.
About blasted time. Hey, you aren't Paolo.
Fred not. Merry Christmas, Lee.
Scott.
It's a little bit tougher to tell in this version of the page, but in the black and white, Paolo's face, like that first panel, I'm telling you, I looked at it, I thought that was Arthur Adams drawing this. There's something about the version of caricature, either him or Michael Golden, like from that school, of just exaggerating some features. It looks like those guys that the Image guys are drawing from. A really, really great caricature. Fun. And then also just that first setting, the establishing shot, you don't need anything else after that. It just gives you everything you need in that one panel, and you can not worry about backgrounds pretty much the rest of the way. It's pretty special.
True.
Eli says, Scott always has such great luck with women. Yeah, watch out. Lee should run.
Yep.
Professor Xavier has the eye of an eagle, the grace of a swan, and the wisdom of an owl. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is for the birds.
So he's with the wrong Lilandra sister then.
That's right.
You got to say this, though. You got to do this, Nick, in Norm's voice.
Professor Xavier has the eye of an eagle, the grace of a swan, and the wisdom of an owl. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is for the birds.
There you go.
All right, so I'll continue with the narration here. Over a leisurely dinner, Scott tells Lee of his recent adventures with the X-Men. She's impressed and terrified. She's faced great white sharks and killer hurricanes without flinching. But Scott's tale is so far beyond her experience, she doesn't know how to cope with it.
Since we returned to Earth, my dad discovered his folks were still alive. Ever since I was a kid, I thought I was an orphan. Now, out of the blue, I've got a father and grandparents, real family. I live in Alaska. Dad's going to take me and my brother Alex north to meet them. I hope they like me.
What's not to like? Will you be coming back?
I'd like to.
For a visit or to stay?
I don't know. You look different.
What a reason. I let my hair grow. Don't change the subject.
It's nice. So are you.
Nice? Nice.
Why are you angry, Lee? Is it something I said or did?
No. Yes. You walked into my life, Scott. Things have been crazy ever since.
Lee, I can't lie to you or make a commitment I'm not certain I can keep. I care too much for you. I'm sorry. The last thing I wanted to do was hurt you. I'll go.
Take one step, Buster, and I'll deck you.
Your world terrifies me, Scott. I could never be a part of it. Even I think, if that meant losing you. So somewhere along the line, I guess you've got a choice. The X-Men or me. But until then, we have each other. And for a while, we can be happy.
It's such a beautiful page.
Lovely scene.
Just the sunset stuff is so well done. The coloring, everything.
Yeah, the color is beautiful.
God dang it. Look how Smith distributes Scott and Lee's body weight in that second walking panel. Yeah, phenomenal. The opposite, like the hips go up and the shoulder comes down.
Yeah.
And the hip goes down and the shoulder goes up. It's beautiful stuff. Yeah, he's so good.
He really is. I thought she was going to say, though, at one point where she's faced great white sharks and killer hurricanes and hurricanes with great white sharks.
and dogs with bees in their mouths, and when they shoot bees at you.
Exactly.
Central Park, South New York City, a very ritzy high-rise. Well, one of whose tenants is senior flight attendant Amanda Sefton, finally home after a grueling month on her airline flagship's round-the-world run.
Hmm? The place is lit by candles. It's lovely. Except that my roommates are on duty flying out of the country. No one's supposed to be here.
Hiya, Toots.
You!
I know you have my Banff dog to keep you company and protect you, but I thought, this being Christmas and all, you might, for a change, prefer the real thing.
Yum.
Xavier's
Random
school.
scene.
Yeah,
It's
quite
great.
random.
I've always said, like, I love the Banff doll. It's so cute.
It's a Banff doll. Is this the first appearance of the Banff doll?
No, we've seen it before.
All right.
But I also love its
issue just went
placement.
up in price. First appearance of the Banff doll.
I love, like, it's the placement of it on the couch.
Of course.
Perfect.
Which
Yeah, it's
suggests
like,
that he has, right? Like, it's out.
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. And like
He's
even
got a version of his suit that just has a giant opening there.
yes, and they're also like the bottle, in the champagne bottle and the ice is there just to And speaking of that's the storm, the hurricane with the sharks. Yeah, Sharknadoes. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a real missed opportunity that when Alan Cumming played Nightcrawler that he didn't get to recreate this scene because you know that he'd be very game for it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Good call.
I love that she's got a Rubik's Cube. It's so good.
and she solved it.
Yes, she did.
She's super smart.
Xavier's school.
Hard as a rock.
Hold on, stop. The transition between the two panels.
Yep.
Right? Like, come on. All right, continue, please.
Hard as a rock. Thick as a brick. I'll never persuade him. I've tried everything. I don't know what to do next. I'll probably be stuck in the X-Babies till I'm ancient. Got ya. Huh? Peter, Ileana. Hi, guys. What you doing? Oh, it's cold. Get on the coat then, silly goose. We're off to chop some firewood. Would you like to come along? Nah, I've still got homework. I feel like my grades slipped. It'll be one more excuse for the professor to keep me out of the X-Men. I'll want some cider, though, for when you're done.
Well, that'll be great. So see you later.
Yeah, bye. I'm so far behind in my studies because of bopping around the universe with the X-Men. I wonder if I'll ever catch up. It's the largest Winnie the Pooh bear.
I want to do a quick plug. I produce a podcast called One Great History, all about the great and sometimes not so great history of Winnipeg, where I live. And we are doing 150 great Winnipeggers leading up to our 150th birthday this November. And we just released an episode on Winnie the Pooh. So
there you go. And
that is my shameless plug.
And I appreciate the One Great History podcast after the One Great City song, by the way.
Yes, yeah, we are big Weaker Thans fans. My dog is named after John K. Sampson. So
really, I saw the poster on the back of the Olivia Sea. That's issues 4. You had the
yeah.
in the background. Yeah. All right, back to the
No. I also want to do a plug for my neighbors who have a dog named Vinny, And when I asked them, can you clarify for me, because I can't tell from your accent, is it Winnie or is it Vinny? And they said, it's Vinny, like Vinnie Pooh. And I said,
Yes.
hold on, like what? They said, Vinnie Pooh. And I started laughing because I realized that they meant, of course, Winnie the Pooh.
But there is a Russian Winnie the Pooh called Vinnie Pooh.
Well,
and it's amazing.
Right. So they say in their dialect, they would say Pooh, not Pooh. Yeah. So yeah, Vinnie Pooh. And yeah, I thought it was great. Like that's how it got translated. And I love that the things are different all around the world, but still Winnie the Pooh. There you go. Plug for my neighbors.
That's the trouble with being a genius. Everybody expects you to produce. Between regular school and my training sessions with the professor and dance class, it's a miracle I've managed this long. What am I thinking? The professor's right? I'd better run the home scan program through the computer to see who else is here. If I'm brewing hot cider and munchies, I ought to include everyone. What's this? I registered Professor Xavier and Lilandra in his study, and Peter and Ileana in the woods, but I'm picking up an anomaly in the lower maintenance tunnels. It isn't a glitch in the system. It's something the sensors aren't equipped to identify.
We need a pause. Here's your moment, Nick. Go for it.
Yeah, so Winnie the Pooh was named after Winnipeg. So you can watch, there's a movie called A Bear Named Winnie starring what's his name? The guy that played young Magneto. Why am I blanking on his name?
Fassbender.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender. And he's an army guy, and he buys a bear cub on the streets and takes it to Winnipeg, and names it Winnipeg, Winnie, after Winnipeg, and lived here for a number of years. And eventually, when you were in the army, you could just have pets, like a pet bear or a pet goat or whatever you wanted, apparently. And so he had a pet bear, and it was really good with children. And then he gave it to the London Zoo, I believe, when he was stationed in London. So
he did, yeah. And there's a statue in the London Zoo of Winnie the Pooh, of like the bear version, not the animated version. And that's where A.A. Milne gets the ideas, the stories, and then there you go.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Super cool.
Yes. Jason Lowe says, I like the heritage moment where the author asks his son, why Winnie the Pooh, son? I don't know. I just like Pooh or something stupid like that.
Yeah. It's a wonderful bit of acting by that 4-year-old.
It is great. And Chuck says, I was today years old when I learned this. A.A. Milne is the author, says Jason. Good thing he didn't find the moose. Very different story.
Yeah.
There's a really funny, this hour has 22 minutes spoof of that particular Canadian heritage moment, where they, A.A. Milne is there with Christopher Robin looking at the bear, and he's like, "What should we name him?" And he says, "Winnie the Feces Bear." Like, what? Winnie the Feces Bear. It's a good one.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yes.
Rolls off the tongue. Okay.
On this next page, really great color changes to show like light on, light off. Like, how do you color yellow in the dark? Well, it's green. And how do you color her peachy skin in the dark? Well, it's that bit of violet, like a purple color. And it's neat to see how you work in the 64 color spectrum or palette and play with lights on, lights off, and how you translate colors to show light and dark. Looks nice.
I'll check it out myself. It's probably nothing, but I could use the break. I should be finished in plenty of time to fix the cider. I haven't worn this costume in ages, since I first entered the school. I was so proud of it then, but it isn't my own special outfit anymore. It's the X-Babies uniform, and I'm just part of a crowd.
Using her phasing power to slip the atoms of her own body through the spaces between the atoms of all the objects around her, Kitty descends from her room to the maintenance tunnel. That there tunnel is buried far beneath the mansion.
No lights. But I use my terminal to order the main computer to turn them on. Only the emergency beacons are working. Aha, here's the reason why something's ripped up the main cable. This isn't casual, indiscriminate damage either. Professor Xavier, can you hear my thoughts? I'm in a tunnel 3. Bravo. We may have a problem.
I comprehend, Sprite. I'm mind scanning the area. But you are the only entity I can perceive. I suggest you return here while I summon Colossus. It could be dangerous.
If you can't spot anyone, sir, what's to be afraid of? I'll push on a bit. This could be a false alarm. Rats could have chewed through the cable. I hate rats. Professor, stay with me.
Be careful, child.
I hear something. Gotcha! Yeah!
Kitty!
Oops.
Sprite, report. I sense you are conscious. What happened?
I'm fine, Professor. A little blinded and spooked is all. Dragon, it's you. It's really you.
Cool.
You're happy to see me too. That's great. I was so sad when I thought we left you behind on Sleaze World. I thought you'd been destroyed along with the planet.
See X-Men 166. Sorry.
That's okay.
Huh? Professor? Help!
Sidrian hunters. The aliens who tried to kill Scott's father months ago and wreck this mansion in the process. Sprite, flee from there at once.
On my way, Professor. Lockheed, come on. Ah!
So before we go further, just another quick art thing. I think about this a lot. Is like the gutters. So it's still a very readable page on the left-hand side. So there's like that really standard, almost quarter of an inch gutter, the whole way through. And then with those 3 panels to go quick between them, just get rid of that gutter, put the panels up against each other, which then presents a fun challenge for the colorist, which is not hard. Actually, shouldn't say challenge. Just a quick problem to solve. If you put them in really contrasting backgrounds, you won't confuse one panel for the next. No tangents, so there's no problem there, and you can stick those panels up against each other with no gutter, and it works.
But then why leave a gutter in between 3 and 4?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think maybe it needs it there.
Because it's the same. It's the same as shot of.
Yeah.
Of Kitty.
Yeah. I wonder if it would look a little too stuck. If you, I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking, but maybe it's that.
Yeah.
I also really love the establishing shot in the tunnel. Like I don't think Cockrum ever drew the X tunnels. Like the differences between the residences and the common spaces for the secret parts of the X Mansion. Like this looks to me like the animated series, kind of, but they were usually square, or like the movie. Like they did. There is a high tech headquarters. This feels great.
And so it's so interesting. So Lockheed, the dragon, shows up. She calls it Dragon.
Yes.
And then the last panel calls it Lockheed. Is that the first time she has referred to it as Lockheed?
I'm not sure. I was really trying to catch this as a continuity thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't remember. I know that was in her story. Like I think that was the name of the dragon. The one that she tells in that crazy one.
That
the crazy
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if she calls it Lockheed when they meet in space.
Okay.
Chuck notes that the tunnels are wired up like old-time Christmas bulbs. Yeah. And Rich says those hunters look like something from Samurai Jack. Totally they do.
Yeah.
Totally. Jeffrey's tube. Good point, right, from Next Generation. This is like a total leftover from Cockrum, one of his designs. And it works just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was a weird one. Mignola did a nice job with him on the cover too. So the guys are also talking a lot about who that is in the poster in Kitty's room.
Oh yeah.
Omar Sharif.
Debate.
Well, they talk about watching Magnum PI a lot in the New Mutants,
Right.
in those early issues. So maybe it's
Oh, that's
selling.
right.
Yeah.
That was the episode we did on that was right, Jay. That's the first scene, right? Before the X-Men bust into their own house and they start fighting. Very cool. All right. That shot frazzled my nerves, like I'd plugged myself into a light socket. Only worse. I seem to be okay. I better not push my luck. The next zap might not be so gentle. Where's the dragon? Oh, don't worry about me, little fella. You run away and hide. Ow! I can't phase that beam screw up my power. I'm stuck here. Well, Wolverine, you spent hours and hours teaching me how to fight. Here's where the training pays off. I hope. Dragon, are you going to help me out? Oh boy! Oh boy!
I love the hair dangling in front of her face in that third panel. Just like it's on the cover too, but it really works. You can really feel like both the weight and the spring of that hair. Super good.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich says he likes the roar lettering. Yeah, it's fun with emotion to it. I am a little unclear though, like what move she did. Like, is she
like slide, tackle, tripped it?
Is she giving it a boot or a knee or?
Yeah, it's
like the movement is there for sure, but I'm not sure where she's making contact or what she's doing. But either way, not a big deal.
Or is it the biggest deal?
True. Nick, you want to keep going?
Sorry, yes. With impossible ease, the dragon slips around the storm energy beams and responds in kind.
This is Xavier talking.
Oh, it is. Shoot, sir. I was looking at it, criticizing you in my head. Nice. Sprite. These are immature hunters, hatchlings. A nest must have been established during their initial attack. The creatures are vulnerable to intense heat.
Lockheed's already figured that out, sir.
Who's Lockheed?
My dragon?
Your what?
I'll explain later. That's 2. The odds are improving.
Suddenly.
Ugh!
Wham.
Oh, that was not fun. No sign of Lockheed. Did this last Sidri zap him too? I'm out in the open. I still can't phase and I've nowhere to run. The creep's keeping his distance. I must have scared him. He's going to fire. I wonder if it'll hurt.
Oh, we figured out who the poster in her room was, by the way.
Who is it?
It's Burt Reynolds, as played by Norm Macdonald. Of course.
It's Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Turd Ferguson.
I honestly end up
Mr. Reynolds.
I either say the name or think the name Turd Ferguson at least once a day.
Do you ever watch My Name is Earl?
Yeah.
And so Burt Reynolds played the character of Chubby, the strip club owner, and then Norm Macdonald played Little Chubby, his son, doing the Burt Reynolds impression. It was glorious.
I gotta find that. That sounds amazing.
Vrak.
Yet, Peter. My armored form monster. I am composed of solid organic steel. I'm virtually indestructible. Given time, perhaps you might do me injury, but such time you no longer have. I came as quickly as I could the moment I heard the professor's mind call. Am I glad you did? Katya, you were injured. I'll heal. You did well defeating 2 of these Sidri before I arrived. I had help. One of the X-Men or the New Mutants? Not quite. Peter, Professor said the Sidri may have built a nest. We've got to find it before. Huh?
Burp.
Is that what you did, you little dickens? Left me to fend for myself while you took care of the nest? It would appear so.
Later, upstairs.
The Sidri had infested a storeroom. I saw thousands of eggs all jarred and broken. Katya insisted the dragon is responsible, but how could such a tiny creature do so much damage and consume so many eggs? He was hungry. We can't send Lockheed home, Professor. He doesn't have one anymore. And since the X-Men were partially responsible for that, we owe it to him to look after him.
Eminently logical, Kitty. If I say no, will he eat me?
Lockheed, don't you dare.
Fascinating. The dragon is intelligent, yet completely impervious to my telepathic probes. There is far more to him than meets the eye, and to Kitty. I have never seen you in action before, Kitty. You show a maturity that belies your years. Perhaps I was in error assigning you to the New Mutants. I suggest a compromise. You may join the X-Men on a probationary status, provided that does not interfere with your education and training. If it does, back to the New Mutants you go, without protest or argument. Is that acceptable?
You bet it is.
Anchorage, Alaska.
I thought they were supposed to be here to meet us, Dad.
Be patient, Scott. They run a cargo airline, and this is their busy season. They knew when we were scheduled to arrive. They'll rendezvous when they can.
I've never felt so nervous.
You're not the only one, son. By the way, nice tan. You evidently enjoyed yourself in Florida.
No complaints.
Why, big brother? You're blushing.
Looking for a fat lip, Alex.
Not me. You're the fighter in the family. I'm the lover.
With a 10-gallon hat.
We have company. A lovely lady by the look of her. Pop, is that our grandmother? Son, are you an idiot?
I'm here to collect the Summers clan. Are you them?
No. Oh, no. I'm Scott.
Alex, and I'm Chris Summers, their father.
Have I gone mad? But Dad and Alex see it too. Her voice, her face. It can't be. It's impossible.
Welcome to Alaska. My name's Madeline Pryor. And we all know who she is.
Next issue, Angel and the Ugloids. Oh my gosh.
Two things I want in a comic: Angel and things called Ugloids.
Yeah, I'm gonna when next time I see my my family at the dinner table or whatever, I walk in last and I'll say, "Hey, it's Angel and the Ugloids."
Jason, didn't you want to start a new band? There's your band name.
The good call.
That's a great band name.
Angel and the Ugloids.
Yeah.
It was kind of a no-brainer to also put her in green and yellow, right? Just to really emphasize the connection to Jean.
Yeah, the Phoenix thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And the Marvel Girl too, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah. That 80s Marvel Girl, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
did we talk about Kitty's costume corner?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't think I know, Rich, you're saying Wheezy shouldn't draw. This is Louise's note. I don't think she's actually the one drawing.
No, it says these are people that submitted ideas for costumes.
Other people shouldn't draw.
Right. So these are other people's drawings. Of all the different aspects to it, the one that kind of maybe sticks with me the most in a bad way is the strange downward arrow mask that she has on. In that one on the bottom left. It is really, really strange. So yeah, these are from 3 different people. None of the names seem familiar to me, but they had basically an open call for some costume ideas, and obviously none of these worked. But really, really weird stuff. Anyway, so as an issue, we've reached the end of this one. Do you guys have a take? Any thoughts?
Nick, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice Kitty A story where she kind of gets over her own nonsense and stops taking it out on other people, and she gets a lifelong pet in the process. I mean, it's a pretty important issue, I think, that shows that she can rise above and take things on. And we get our little bits of, we get a little Cyclops, get a little Wolverine, we get Nightcrawler having sex with a stewardess, I guess. Like, it's we get Storm, doing her morning ritual. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of as they might say, this issue has everything. So yeah, and the art is great. Like, it's like I love the clean lines. I love the minimalist look of all the characters, like, because they're so iconic. Like, even without their costumes, like, I don't think, like, other than when Kitty puts on her old costume there, like, we don't really see anyone in uniform throughout the issue, right? So it's one of those type of, like, oh, we have to put the heroes in their costumes. It's like, no, like, it's still engaging even without, like, I mean, like, the only other one is like Xavier puts on workout clothes, right. So that's kind of different. But
and Colossus does show up in costume.
Oh yes,
I think that's just mostly to have someone for her to talk to.
Yeah,
like, it's just for that scene of, like, it wouldn't have made sense for no one to ever be home. Like how convenient, two years in a row at Christmas. There's no one home both times, just to face some sort of monster.
It's like in the Deadpool movie, how Colossus is the only one home.
Yeah.
Like the gag, yeah. Because they could only afford Colossus.
Yeah, that's a good gag.
Yeah.
I like you said, I really like how the issue works, even though it doesn't have to have like obligatory super team stuff.
Mhm.
You know, everyone gets their moment and their scene, and it kind of moves the larger X-Men narrative along, sort of between multi-issue battles. It's like the personal issue, and for an issue that has like not a lot happen in it, it's a pretty notable one. Like it's well known for people and often referenced, as we've said before, whether it just be like the Kitty Pryde costume, the cover getting homaged by awesome cartoonists out of Winnipeg, like things like that. It's a neat one, and not a lot actually occurs within it in terms of, you know, famous plot points for a big adventure, but it's a good one. And yeah, man, Paul Smith winning me over every single issue. Like I just think he's great. And Nightcrawler's sex scene, and
I think it's if you're a younger person reading this book and it's focusing on Kitty, it's showing her growth, right? And it's a theme we've gone back to a couple of times now with this. I mean, certainly 2 holidays in a row, but just in terms of her being the relatable hero that's still learning, but also is like super powerful. Sorry.
Oh, I've got to show you guys something here. Are you ready? Whoop! Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I muted myself. My dog is
oh, you muted yourself. So okay. I just got to share my screen. I just don't want to do anything offensive here. Let me see. Stop.
If we don't do anything offensive, then we've won. That's the bar.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I hope so.
This is from our friend Eli, who's in the chat. He sent this to me during the.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
The gloves and everything. I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
And the font.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that's perfect.
He's a jerk. Wow.
Yeah, Eli is great, by the way. Eli, if you're still here, much love to you, sir. That's really funny.
I know that each fandom, obviously, when it comes to cosplay, there's so much creativity and invention. You gotta, if you had to match them up from a comic book perspective, like it's hard to top X-Men cosplay. Mm-hmm. I think because there's so many of them, and there's so many different eras, and there's so many different takes. Like we saw one, we were at Fan Expo in Toronto, I was say 2019, and we had a bishop come to our table with full like Jerry curl. He looked so good. And he was like, we're like Bishop. He came by, he's like, hey guys, how's it going? And he just looked unbelievable. And he was rocking the 90s cartoon, and it just looked great. And there's like, it just feels like it lends itself really well. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love seeing Batman cosplay too, but there's something about the X-Men. I think we saw Jubilee too, like, bright yellow collar, all of it, right? So, yeah.
I'm at a loss to think of like the different X-Men cosplay we've seen over the years. I'm still stuck on when you and I were at Niagara Falls. Yeah. And Rodney Dangerfield came by our table and did like a 2-minute bit. Just so hard in character. Just he went
unprompted.
Unprompted. He just saw that we kind of looked at him and wanted to, like, maybe
and kind of knew who he was. Like, yeah.
And he just went into character and just went on a whole stand-up routine, and it was phenomenal. We were jaws dropped. It was great.
That's awesome.
Did anyone go to Paul Smith's appearance at Silver Snail in the fall of '84? I missed it. I was just a little too young, maybe about a year off, maybe a year or two off, and I would have gone to that as a kid. But by '86, I was going there regularly for for artist appearances and stuff like that, but I did not go. My first time seeing Paul Smith's art might have been the X-Men Alpha Flight 2-parter, and I can't actually wait to reread that again. Hopefully for the show at some point when we get later in the high 100s, we'll cover the X-Men Alpha Flight. Oh, Chris has got to step out. The idea of X-Men and Alpha Flight teaming up has made Chris nauseous. He has left the show. He's gone to throw up. Of course, if you look closely, you can see in his kitchen there is the WC, the water closet is right there. So he's not really throwing up. He's doing something with his dog. Bijou is probably causing some trouble. You feeling better? Oh, no, Chris probably had to go fart in the other room.
I really didn't want to do it on camera.
You could have just
fair
muted the
enough.
fart. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, she was begging to go outside. So there you go.
They interviewed him in their newsletter, and you have that. Man, I was a subscriber to their newsletter in the 80s as a little kid, and I used to color in with my colored pencils. I'd color in the black and white comic book images that they shared through the newsletter. I wish I had kept those, not because of the coloring, but because they're a neat artifact, the Silver Snail having those. While it's amazing, Rodney is amazing. He was born in the town I live in. There you go. Small world. You are the new Rodney Dangerfield. He used to do illustrations in early issues of Amazing Heroes and Comics Journal. Cool. Tales of the Snail. The Silver Snail had this like mascot. It as a comic store, it had like this a Rom the Space Knight robot looking cool. Yeah. I used to get the posters from the Silver Snail, and in my early comic collecting days, I had all sort of merch from the Snail kicking around my room and comic book boxes and stuff. I wonder if we're ever going to get more Kitty Pryde in film. As she has that role that Jubilee then has on the cartoon, and that Rogue then has in the early films, right? I wonder if they'll ever let Kitty be the young window into the X-Men again for us.
I don't know.
They'll move on to the next and the next.
It all depends on what sort of stories they want to tell when they bring the X-Men proper into the MCU, right? Like, I mean, what if they're going to take any storylines? Like, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but
none of us do, man.
And
I would love to see something 80s-ish, but I don't know if we'll get that.
Yeah.
But a younger Kitty would be good. I mean, an older, accomplished Kitty, like an adult, like team leader Kitty would be good too. I think that would be.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Excalibur movie, so
right.
Which is
part of the joy.
Do it. It was sexy Nightcrawler.
Yes.
Part of the joy of older, competent, decisive, clever, team leader Kitty is that you see her grow into that.
Yeah.
And you see like the way she can think on her feet in this issue. She's down in those Jeffries tubes, and when her powers go, they bum out. Like she's like, "Yep, let's just switch to combat mode," and she handles herself really well for the most part. A couple pages of some action. So, she's showing that she really is a good, competent member, and I can't wait to see what happens to her next. Like where this character is going to go. There is, of course, a Wolverine Kitty Pryde or Kitty Pryde Wolverine limited series, a 5-parter, I think, 5 or 6-parter.
Yeah, I have those. Yeah, they're really good.
Me too, but I've never read them. I picked them up during the quarantine, and I've been sort of waiting. I've never been a fan of Al Milgrom, who I believe does the pencils, and I'm kind of looking for the right occasion to crack those things out and read them. Of course, Claremont probably writes it, I'm assuming. So when we get to that part of the continuity, I'm going to tell you, Chris, I'm announcing it. We're going to detour and do that. But in the meantime, we're taking some time away from the show. One of us, and I won't say who, is having some time away from home for the next couple of weeks. So for July,
God forbid,
no Previously in X-Men, but maybe there's something else on Tuesday nights that I can host that is not Previously in X-Men, because I still do enjoy the hangout on a Tuesday night. So maybe there'll be something else without you, Chris. But I won't read any X-Men without you, sir.
Well, Nick, I'll let you know. I'm driving with my family. I've got 2 young kids across the country, and I'm going to be in Winnipeg for about a day and a half. So I'm gonna have to hit you up for some, and we're like staying downtown, but I'll have to hit you up for some recommendations, maybe some food or coffee.
Yeah, man.
Or something.
Let me know where you're staying, and I'll let you know what's nearby. And,
Cool. We'll do.
Yeah, and if you're downtown, there's actually a few good comic shops downtown. So.
Oh, okay, great.
And do they sell your stuff there, Nick?
No, I got my stuff in a shop in like one far end of the city of the south side. But yeah, there's the downtown shops are there's Red River Bookstore, which is you walk in and it is beautiful chaos, and it is like you go up a weird staircase and there's a bunch of like that's where you'll find like weird issues of Flaming Carrot and stuff. But like it's like you can find a bicycle that someone left there. You can find boxes of comics and records. You can find used pornography. You can find CDs. You can find a cardboard cutout of Amanda Waller from the Suicide Squad movie that is always like glaring at me as I'm flipping through the M's, you know,
as I'm looking through used pornography.
Yeah, exactly. We used to go there in high school, but yeah, now that I work downtown, and so there used to be 3 shops like in walking distance of my office, and now there's only 2. But yeah, there's some great shops. There's like a dozen comic shops in Winnipeg at least, and they're all pretty amazing in their own right.
Nick, where are you gonna appear next in the comics world?
I have 2 local shows, 2 Winnipeg shows in the fall. The Prairie Comics Festival in September, and the second Winnipeg Punk Rock Flea Market is in October. So yeah, 7 shows this year, and I did 1 last year. So that's I'm doing lots of shows, and I'll probably have some new stuff. But yeah, speaking of X-Men, I've been doing a series of trading cards as well, Olivia Sea trading cards that are based on the 1992 Jim Lee series. Oh yes, and you have a few of them right there, my friend. Yeah, so I'm gonna hopefully have a full set of 9. I only have 3 out right now, and I'm gonna have a full set of 9 for the fall, so you can have them in your little page. And yeah, so that's my other X-Men tie-in. And then I think that there's going to be an issue or 2 next year that have there's 1 Wolverine homage cover that I'm doing, and 1 X-Men homage cover, but I won't say which issues. We'll just
doing this one.
No, that one's been homaged enough.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. No,
yeah, there are lots of other great choices with Wolverine, so yeah, I'm sure you'll find something cool. Trevor says, let's do previously in Next Men, Jason, for the month of July. Sounds like a fun idea. Sounds like a fun idea. I hear you. Those are the backs. Those are the front. There we go. You can find us next, Chris, at Fan Expo Canada at the end of August in Toronto. You and I will be there all 4 days, selling comics, signing comics, drawing pictures for people. We should have a good time. You can get our newest issue, Peregrine's Hunter's Moon, then, or you can hit us up online at group7comics.ca. Of course, the number 7 to find us. Or you can just go to either one of our Instagrams and follow the link tree to get there, or check out Group of 7 Comics on Instagram as well. It's there. Yeah. With X-Men, just one quick thing. So we'll take the month off of doing X-Men comics, but like I said, I'll do something anyway on Tuesday nights. Just not sure what yet. Hopefully something fun. But we will return on August 1st, and we're going to, because it's time to do the graphic novel, Marvel graphic novel number 5, God Loves Man Kills, with special guest Hoche Anderson. So that should be a fun one to do.
Whoa.
Yes,
so cool. Yeah, I got to hang with him in Toronto, or in Toronto and in Vancouver on my tour.
Was he the best looking guy, a person?
No question.
He's got this suit, and he's just like like tall and handsome, and just like he's the coolest guy.
Yes. So I'm excited to do that. We'll have a fun time in about a month with God Loves Man Kills, and it's a longer read, so there'll be a little bit more, maybe a little less joking around in the middle of it, but a good significant one to read nonetheless. Chris, on your travels, if you find a copy of that, purchase it, give it a read.
So We're at Gotham Central, Mississauga last weekend, and
True.
they had a copy number 2. I guess a reprint of number 2 in the back issues because it was a 2-part.
It's a full graphic novel, like an oversized one, the same as the New Mutants one.
Okay.
It's the graphic novel that comes directly
Anyway,
after
but I didn't
it.
see any part 1, so I couldn't just like, anyway.
Well, okay.
I didn't realize that was one we were going to do, but I know we've talked about it. So.
Well, we only figured this out today. So, it's a fly by the seat of your pants kind of operation. Strangely enough, it's actually in here in black and white, even though it wasn't ever rendered that way. You can see that stretch where it's black. Those are the pages basically done in grayscale.
Oh, cool.
And since I think the color is painted in this is not actually a nice way to really read it. The reproduction is not flattering for anyone. But I do have the real one here too. I just want to find a good digital copy. There you go. Nick's got one. I've got one back there.
Man kills.
Yeah, it should be good. And there's a bit of a quirk to it, in that it doesn't fit smoothly into any continuity. There are some, like, the costume doesn't fit with Kitty's costume with her naming. Like, she's called Ariel in it, but her costume is worn when she's called Sprite. And so it doesn't exactly line up for people who are really focused on continuity, but we should be more like thinking ish as opposed to it's that month, And
is it 1983 or 84? Or is it like
right in there? It's 83 or even fall of 82. Like it comes out around this time. But there is a gap, like also because we know that Wolverine leaves on his Canadian vacation.
Right.
So the team
go to the Rockies. Guess where I'm going? The Rockies.
Right. So
Wolverine.
There is like a gap in the team being together for a bit, so it doesn't fall clean in any specific month in X-Men continuity. But you just roll with it, like I said, where it's just you think ish and you have a good time and read a good X-Men story. So we'll come back with August 1st with that. Fan Expo and some other stuff in the fall, other events we'll get to later down the road. Anyone want to talk anything about Secret Invasion?
I'm waiting a few episodes to binge it, so I haven't even touched it yet.
Chris?
I watched the first episode.
And?
It's okay. I mean, to not spoil anything, but it's it's espionage, Cold War-y kind of thing, and Fury is older, and Talos is older.
Like, who cares about Talos? I'm sorry.
Well, I do, because Ben Mendelsohn's a good actor.
Ben Mendelsohn, yeah, but like the version of him in the movie in Captain Marvel, he's a trickster in that movie, right? Like he's the shape-shifting, smooth-talking, manipulative character, not an action character. And then in this, he's like a completely different character. Which fine, whatever.
Anyway,
but no spoiler.
We'll see where it goes. But yes, it's just espionage, thriller.
Did you hear that Disney the opening credits are AI art?
Yeah, what's it Rich is saying in the chat too. I had heard that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the artwork is weird looking, which is fine because it's like this shape-shifting scroll kind of theme. But a really bold slap in the face for all the artists out there that work for Disney and work for Marvel, that one of their shows makes a choice to not pay someone.
And some of the best parts of some of those shows are the artwork. Like the opening and closing sequences are so great and so much fun. Like
She-Hulk, right? Like those.
Yeah, the She-Hulk stuff was so great, and the Hawkeye stuff, and obviously the Mandalorian does those beautiful painted pieces as well. Like it's kind of like on Disney Plus brand, I guess, for these series. So to have AI, and I mean, unless it plays into the story in some way that hasn't been revealed yet, that's a reach maybe. But no, I mean, I'm not a fan. That's the only thing I've watched. I heard that and I watched that opening sequence on YouTube or something, and I was just like, like it's pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, agreed. Rich says it's a shame for them that the comic books they're referencing weren't put together by software instead of artists. Yeah, it's a weird move for Disney to do that. But you know, I'm not surprised that a multi-billion-dollar corporation makes a cost-cutting maneuver like that's.
Well,
We
did
shouldn't be
find out
surprised.
Kevin is a robot, right? Kevin
That's what we
Feige.
did find
That's
that
what we
out.
found out in
True.
She-Hulk. So yeah,
Yes, you're right about that.
I guess the whole thing has been AI this whole time.
Any thoughts on the Lee documentary and the response from the Kirby family?
I haven't watched it yet.
Fair enough. So there's a new doc on Disney Plus, and it is a compilation of like Stan Lee in the words of Stan Lee, and you know
all that comes along with that.
So the Kirby estate put forth a statement, basically to sum it up, saying that there should be a bit more of a balanced representation, considering what a great job Stan did in promoting the brand of Stan and the brand of Marvel, and largely ignoring contributions of Jack Kirby. It's maybe, you know,
it just sucks so much because like Stan was the showman and the pitchman, and Jack was like, he would just wanted to put his head down and do the work, right? And so we have literally thousands of hours of Stan telling these stories over and over again on film and on video, and we have fewer hours of Jack. And because he is like, you know, this Disney brand now of Stan Lee, and he's in the movies and blah blah blah, like, and so like it's the filmmakers telling that story. Unfortunately, you know, history has pushed aside Jack, and you know, those of us that know, we obviously know his contributions and things, but yeah, and what's the most unfortunate is your very casual fans will now watch this documentary on Disney Plus, and they will see one side of the story. And I mean, at least we have Tom Scioli out there doing you know, comparable graphic novels like I Am Stan, and his Jack Kirby one as well, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. So I mean, if maybe at the very least it acts as a door opener to see behind the scenes of the fact that there were people making this, and that Stan was like the ringleader and the pitchman or whatever. Because when I think about it, I think of Stan Lee narrating the cartoons, like the Spider-Man cartoon, when I was a kid. And so I was a little kid and I didn't know who Jack Kirby was, but I knew who Stan Lee was, and I knew Stan's soapbox and things like that. But now as I've grown and done the work, and I know who Jack Kirby is and was, I mean, it's, you know, you do the work and you find out. I mean, they should be doing the work at this point and telling a more balanced story. But again, I also haven't watched the documentary, but I do know that there's like a million, you know, Stan Lee related, like when he passed, there was like ABC Television, owned by Disney, did like a whole like Stan Lee remembrance thing, and they trotted out Robert Downey Jr. on stage to throw to a clip and blah blah blah, and it was like a real half-assed effort. But yeah, I don't know.
They in on every documentary, for all those MCU movies, when Stan visits the set and gets to shake hands and hug with the star main actor, they always say it's so amazing to meet the person who created. And we love to use this word, created. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the argument seems to be about who created what, and I think that's not the point at all. For me, it's not the point at all. We know that an editor-in-chief doesn't create an article or create a story. They initiate one. They point a finger and they initiate. I can say all I want that there should be a device that beams me from my house to your house, so I can, hey, make me a device that beams me from my house to yours so I can play with your toys. And then when you go and build that, when you go and build me that thing, I can't say I created it.
Right. Yeah.
I can say I initiated it. But if you did the work to make the thing exist, we need some different terminologies. That's one of my points with it. Is it isn't so much about who gets credit. It's like we use a language that is very absolute, and it doesn't allow for the flexibility that really happens in those dynamics. The second part of my real problem with it is those stories about the narrative about finger pointing. It doesn't do justice to the role that Stan plays as management. We have management and an employee. And we have management that is, by the way, related by blood to the ownership of the company. We have a person who's risen up through the ranks. He is officially management. He's not an employee. He's management of that company. He gives himself writing credit, so he takes another paycheck there. He can write whatever he wants, and he can pass on those checks whenever he wants to. But he assigns who gets what jobs. So he has all the power. And we have an employee who has none of the power because he's trying to, basically feed his family every month.
Yeah.
So that dynamic already is not okay. And when one person controls the narrative and controls who gets paid, Stan is in a position where he can dictate everything. Jack can't say, I'm not working if you don't give me credit. Yeah. He's never in a position where there's never a moment where he has enough financial and legal security where he can say, I'm going to fight for my rights. Stan has the power the whole time.
Yeah. And
does not make the overtures to properly distribute credit and financial compensation.
Yeah.
So Stan is an obstacle to the truth throughout his career. And whether he's the sole creator or not, it doesn't matter to me. It's that there's a vast power imbalance during their relationship. And that needs to be talked about. I love the things that I attribute to Stan in the comics. I love what I think he brings. Like in my construct of his creative contribution, I love what he brings, and I love what Jack brings. But we can't use the word create if all you did was initiate it by telling someone to go do this job and then come back in and fill in the word balloons. It's interesting.
There's an idea, and then there's someone that brings it to life, and then there's someone who keeps it going, and then there's an inker, and there's a letterer, and there's a lot of people. Like, making a comic is a lot like making a film. There's more than one person working on this. There's more than one person bringing it to life. It's like making a song. It's like making anything. Like, unless you're a cartoonist that pencils and inks and colors and letters, and then mulches your own paper, and then owns your own printing press, and then is your own distributor and all these things, then sure, that's a one person operation. But for the most part, even something that is like what I do, it's and I have with the big paper cutter blade and the long stapler, I've made my own issues, but I've also sent issues off to the printer, obviously, because I want it to look good. And so then there's other people involved, right? There's always other people involved, and it takes a lot of people. And I think that maybe it's because I've worked in film and been involved in the process, even in my day job of working in marketing, and it's you're throwing ideas at the wall, and I might have the main idea of the campaign, but someone else might come up with one line that makes it really sing. And so collaboration is the key here. And I think that Stan and Jack don't exist without each other. And mean, New Gods is amazing, but there are times when the writing is very dry.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, would someone else maybe helped it sing a little more? Maybe, but I don't know.
There's lots going on in the chat. Let's see if we can get through some of these.
Please.
And whatever we do, let's not let Chris speak. We should just make sure Chris gets no voice in this. David says the thing they very intentionally never got into is who designed the costumes. They say Jack drew the FF, Ditko took over Spider-Man. It paints a picture that the designs were already there. Yes. Yes. Oh my God, Conrad, what are you doing here? What's up, team? Hey, Nick, good to see you hanging with the two best indie creators out there. And by out there, he means in here in our specific houses. I'm definitely the best indie comics creator in this room. And Chris, same as you. You don't get to speak. You're on mute. Hope you're good, Conrad. Glad you're here. A lot of very intentional dodges in the phrasing they chose. 100%. Now the lawyers are involved, right? Chris, you're on mute, right? Just so you know. No, we prefer it that way. Keep it on. Trevor says Stan was Steve Jobs and Jack was Woz. We love those, those oversimplifications, and they don't give enough of the nuance of real collaboration, because there are times where Stan would present more of a script up front, and there are times where Stan almost did nothing until after the comic book was fully drawn. So
Marvel method, right? Like,
yeah.
And I think Nick, you brought up a good point earlier where if you control the narrative, and for casual fans or for casual viewers of the documentary or whatever the audience is going to be, right? There's obviously, it's already generating a whole bunch of conversation just in this forum between people who either create comics or love comics or want to talk about comics. If you're just like, oh, who's Stan Lee? 100% he's controlled that narrative for that 50-year period. There's no room for two people in that narrative.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, and then you're right, like the movies and the adulation and the kind of like knowing winks and nods, like deliberate, intentional, 100%, like very aware of the power of narrative.
Yes.
And so like on that front, like there's only room for the one with the story, if you're the one telling it. Unless you're a very generous storyteller, which it doesn't sound like he is for this particular purpose.
Yes, for sure. Lots of Nepo talk. It's fine. He didn't just initiate it, though, not early on, so far as we can reliably know. Yeah, of course he didn't just initiate. I'm just using it as an example that there's more to the conversation than just labeling someone as a creator or not a creator, right? I mean, we did this idea that he's editor-in-chief, so he's assigning everything to people. And they're all basically working on an assembly line that he is the manager of, you know. So sometimes he gets involved in how things get made, and sometimes he's less involved. And it's really, really hard to nail it all down. But even within that difficulty, he is systematically not being truthful in his word choices to, ensure that there isn't any confusion as to where the magic is, and he did a great job of it. He really did a great job of it. I love, there's no question it was successful too. Like Marvel in the 60s is amazing stuff that we're still going to be, celebrating for another 100 years.
We did run into at Gotham Central. There was because we have these cards on our table for X-Men, the show, right? And anytime people come by wearing an X-Men shirt or something, like, you like X-Men? Come join us on Tuesday and talk X-Men. There's an older gentleman who came by, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I love X-Men, love it. 60s the best, great X-Men." And we're just like, never got better, man. Never got better.
They got canceled.
It was his X-Men, which is great.
Yes,
you never hear that take, right? Where it's like, whoa, 60s X-Men, man, the best there was.
Those like, Don Heck X-Men costumes where Angel wore the yellow. Best X-Men ever.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Those 5 white kids get up to no good.
Rich points out, that the separation of duties was created by the publishers, right? It's that assembly line, right? It's to go get speed. The story of Amazing Fantasy 15 was his, but the costume, web shooters, and visual world was Ditko. Yeah, they're co-creators, for sure. And they've rectified that one now, but for years he will say, the thing that I don't. Okay, my little beef with the Stan stuff is when someone says in an interview, like, "Hey, when you created Spider-Man," he doesn't say, "Hold on, let's pump up Ditko." He's not a guy who pumps the tires of anyone else. Well, there are interviews where he does do it, but there are plenty where he doesn't. And then, of course, the video editor chooses also not to include those pieces, and then he signs off on it.
Yeah, because there was personal stuff with Ditko and Lee, right? Like the egos got in the way very much, and it caused Ditko to just walk away from the book after 15 issues or whatever. And I also, yeah, you're right. Like with filmmaking, it's like the editor, the producer, the documentarian, like that's the author of the piece. They're writing the visual article type of thing. And, they're choosing to tell this story. Maybe they were contracted by Disney and Marvel to create this piece. And it's always one of those things like the Queen movie, Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like that was produced by the band. So it tells a very particular story. Whereas, if it's made by other filmmakers that have nothing to do with the band or the true life person on screen, then it will tell maybe a more honest story. So if I don't know the filmmakers involved in the Stan Lee doc, but if they were contracted by Disney to make this, you know,
Stanley Doc, yeah.
a glowing, you know, loving tribute to this man that, yes, like he did help to bring some amazing characters and stories into the world. There's no denying that. But to you know, erase or to lessen the contributions of Jack and Steve and all these other creators over the years, like, and also like it's so weird because like Marvel and Stan weren't getting along in the 90s, and all that stuff always gets glossed over too. Like he was off doing you know, what was it, the cartoon with Pamela Anderson, you know, like Stripperella and stuff like that, like, or whatever it was, like, and he was doing all of his own Stan Lee Presents books, but all that gets glossed over too, right? Like we just think like, as far as we know, Stan Lee worked with Marvel Comics from X date to X date, and then he died. Like that's they've really like put aside all of the grief and the BS or whatever. So that is it's rewriting history, and that's how it happens. So
yeah, it makes me also think about like the parallels between the Stan Lee brand and the Walt Disney brand.
Yeah, like
Walt
Disney is
Walt Disney made everything, right? Didn't he
Yeah.
create all the characters or write those stories? Didn't he write Snow
He
White and
loves children
Cinderella?
of almost every nation.
Yes, and didn't he write Little Mermaid? Like, didn't he create all that stuff? And he drew everything, did all the voices, and he built the theme park with his bare hands. And Stan Lee is the same thing for Marvel.
Yeah.
It is an interesting thing, you know, how it gets played, and then, you know, here we are, like bringing this now, I guess, back round to maybe back to X-Men and who we credit, you know, when we talk about these issues, and like whose run is it, and you know, the role that Claremont plays, and it's interesting. We've been pretty we love to talk about the different people that, you know, that play a hand in it, and you know, our time that we're reading is the Claremont run, and I love looking at where we can see it's his hand or not his hand, like what he brings, what he doesn't bring, you know, where it works and where it doesn't work, and those collaborations, and which ones are healthy, which ones are not, and then how that connects to the stuff that you and I make, Chris, and you know, and getting to collaborate with you, talk some smack at a table, you know, while we're doing an in-store over the weekend, and like ideas come out of it, and it's so much fun to see how those things work when we don't have the financial pressures of, you know, trying to work on this assembly line system. Yeah, there's lots of good stuff going on in the chat. I would love to get to all of it, but it is also 11:12 at night for you and I, Mr. Sanagan, and well past 10 o'clock for you there in Winnipeg, in the Central Time Zone. So we should call it a night. But it is fun to think about these things and how they play out. And in the end, yeah, go learn as much as you can about Stan Lee. Go learn as much as you can about Jack Kirby. And there's so much to read. So it's a total pleasure. Nick, thank you so much for coming here tonight and hanging out with us. It's been a real treat looking at your toy collection. We just wish you would get out of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, here's the other. Well, the other side of the room. Yeah, we got the Ewok Village. We got a few more. Got some Ninja Turtles. We got.
Oh my god!
It just keeps going, guys.
Cool.
Thank you so much. This was a total blast, and Jason, this is you know, another great hang for us, and Chris, our first hang. So thanks so much for having me and bringing me into your kitchen and your home office there.
Studio. It's my studio.
It's your studio? Nice, man.
Yeah, my table's right here. You just can't see. There's my lamp.
Okay.
You know,
rock and roll.
My drawing board's right here.
There's my sink. There's a bread container over there. You know, I keep my bread.
There's my Storm Shadow. See, it's my studio.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Nick, anytime, come back, please. If you want to do this again, just give us a shout.
Loved your voice acting tonight too. I was laughing a lot with the Ileana. It's great to have an Ileana and Peter's Russian duel off.
Yes, anytime. I was basing it on my friend who is Russian named Alina. So that was who I was channeling for that. But yeah, no, this was a blast. This is like I you know, I've been watching the show for a bit, and so cool to get to meet you guys and just to nerd out on this stuff. It's I don't have a lot of comics friends in Winnipeg, so it's nice to have some at least some online comics pals. So
another knock on Winnipeg.
One great city.
Not enough comic friends.
One great city.
Yep.
Well, we're really glad you could be here, and thanks to everyone hanging out with us in the chat. You guys really
Yeah.
stuck around for almost the entire time, so it really we're grateful for all of you to hang around. Please click like on the video, share it if you can, and throw a comment down below. You can find links to Nick's site and your Instagram in the description below this video. And yeah, we're really glad all of you could be here tonight. So it was a lot of fun, and we'll see you next time on Previously an X-Men. Everyone have a good night. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.